Hello, sports fans, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 15 of The Bark. I'm Drew Ellis, here with Teddy Weiner, as we cover all things new sports as it's getting warm outside.
Yeah, Drew, today we're going to talk about NFL free agency you want to look out for, some March Madness upsets, and a recap of the Tokyo Series. But first, I'm going to take you through F1 and what to look for this season and how the sport works.
With the F1 season starting up this month, I'm here to give you some quick tips on this year, including how F1 works, some storylines, and some predictions to keep track of when watching these cars on the track. F1 has 5 different sessions throughout the weekend, including 3 free practice sessions where any team can do anything they want on the track to test their cars for the upcoming race. There's a qualifying session where cars ballot it out, and the bottom 5 in qualifying session 1 are knocked out. The next bottom 5 in qualifying session 2 are knocked out until we get to a final 10 shootout to determine where cars position themselves for the race on Sunday. And as you may guess, the race is on Sunday, where cars go racing for a set amount of laps around the track depending on length to determine a winner. In F1, drivers score points depending how they finish in the race. First place gets you 25, second place gets you 18, third gets you 15, and then down the order all the way to 10th gets you 1 point. And those points tally up over the year until a driver is out of reach from any other driver to take the World Drivers' Championship. And then same for World Constructor. It's just the mashup of both teams' drivers' points to determine who wins that award. Now for some storylines to keep track of this year. The first one is, can Max Verstappen repeat again? He is a 4-time-in-a-row World Championship winner, and McLaren is going to give him a challenge, but it's going to be really interesting to see if he can step up to that challenge and claim his 5th title. Speaking of McLaren, they have a resurgence this year. After the Australian Grand Prix just happened this past weekend, it showed that they have one of the faster cars on the track, so it'll be really interesting to see if they can keep that pace up and take a lot of wins. And the final storyline to keep track of is there are 6 rookies on the track. So much new blood out there. And even in the first race, we saw 4 of them crash out, which I'd hope it's not a bad omen for how this year goes. But we could definitely see a lot of fun stuff with these rookies on the track. And then finally, some predictions for this year. There's only 2 that I can really give due to the fact there's only really 2 winners for this year. It's the World Drivers' Champion and the World Constructor Championship. The World Driver Champion, obviously the best driver, whoever accrues the most points. And then the World Constructor Championship, whichever team comprised of 2 drivers gets the most points at the end of the year. For the World Driver Championship, I think Lando Norris is going to win this. I think he will be able to outbattle Max Verstappen after last year. He understands what it takes to beat Max in all of these different conditions that he may come across. I think Lando wins the World Drivers Championship. And then McLaren will win the World Constructor Championship. Like I said, they have the best car on the track, it looks like. And Norris teamed up with his teammate Oscar Piastri. I think they can really do a good job at making a championship-winning car throughout the year. That's all I have for you. The Chinese Grand Prix is this weekend, so if you want to wake up at 3 a.m. Eastern Time and watch that, go right ahead. I don't really know if I will be, but you guys can enjoy if you want to, and I'll send it back to the studio.
The F1 season should be really exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to watching a lot of these races. Drew, how about you?
Absolutely. Looks like a fast season in store. Now, let's turn it over to Logan Whitehead for some coverage on March Madness popular upsets.
Thanks, guys. All right, first game we're going to be taking a look at today is UC San Diego versus Michigan. Now, Michigan is the favorite in this game with a 2.5 favorite, and ESPN predicts them to win by 66%. But in my opinion, UC San Diego is going to be one of the biggest upsets we see for the first round. This 30-4 team is on a 15-game win streak, which means that they're going into this tournament hot. And while Michigan, they're looking pretty tired after winning the Big Ten tournament, so we'll see how they do in this first round. All right, the next game we're going to be taking a look at is the number 11 seed Drake Bulldogs versus the number 6 seed Missouri Tigers. So this game is a little bit more far-fetched than the last one, with Missouri being a 6.5-point favorite over the Bulldogs and a 73% chance to win from ESPN Analytics. But in my opinion, I think the Bulldogs are going to take this. With their prolific offensive style and their 7-game win streak, I think they're going into this tournament hot, and they're looking like a big upset for this team. As the next game we're going to be taking a look at is 12 seed Colorado State University Rams versus the Memphis Tigers, which are the 5th seed. So coming into this game, Rams are looking at a 25-9 record versus the Tigers' 29-5 record, which going into this could be seen as, this is the Tigers are going to take this one easily. But in my opinion, I think the Rams have a great chance at this one. if you look in the ESPN right here, 46% for the Rams, while you have 53% for the Tigers. And for the first time, the lower seed has the point favorite with a 2.5 favorite for the Colorado Rams. Some factors that could be playing into this are the Tigers having their star guard, Tyrese Hunter, out. And going into this tournament, we'll see how they can play out with the prolific offense that the Rams are having and the shooting season that they're going into. Well, that's all from me. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Logan. Drew, personally, I think UNC can take on Ole Miss in the round of 64 after the performance in the round of 68. I definitely think with Bill Belichick and his aura coming to UNC, they have a lot to look forward to, especially in basketball, but also in football.
Absolutely. I feel like they could make a deep run in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think the Purdue Boilermakers are an early red flag to look out for.
As always.
They've had a little bit of postseason failures in recent years, shall we say, losing to a 16 seed in the first round, and it's made it tough to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think High Point really has upset probability there.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Now, let's turn it back as I take you through some of the most important moments from NFL free agency.
Let's start off right away with Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins getting the extension. The Bengals keep their elite receiving duo intact, ensuring Joe Burrow has his top targets for the foreseeable future. Chase, already one of the NFL's premier wideouts, beating Hall of Famers and regularly putting up mind-blowing stats like this, secures a long-term deal that cements him as the face of Cincinnati's offense. Meanwhile, Higgins also gets an extension, making them the highest paid number 1 and 2 WR punch in NFL history, proving the Bengals' commitment to passing. With both young receivers locked in, Cincinnati just needs to tighten up its defense to remain a long-time contender in the AFC. Now onto the defensive side, Myles Garrett also finds himself an extension. The Browns lock up their defensive centerpiece, extending Myles Garrett with a massive new deal that makes him one of the highest-paid defensive players ever. A perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Garrett has been the heart of Cleveland's pass rush since being drafted first overall in 2017. Myles had reportedly requested a trade, but the money talked, and the Browns ensured their defense would remain a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks with a fat check for Myles Garrett. Now, onto a dual signing with Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold making their way to the Seattle Seahawks. Kupp, a former Super Bowl MVP and one of the NFL's most precise route runners, finds a new home after a decorated tenure with the Rams, including a historic Triple Crown season in which he led the NFL in every major receiving category. Injuries have slowed him recently, but a fresh start could reignite his production. Meanwhile, Sam Darnold gets another opportunity to revive his career. Once a highly touted prospect, the quarterback has bounced around, but now lands in a system that might finally unlock his potential after a successful season in Minnesota, and also raises the bar in an air raid offense. Keep an eye on Seattle this season. Next up, Joey Bosa. After an impactful career with the Chargers, Joey Bosa hits the open market and cashes in with a new team looking to bolster its pass rush. Many expected him to sign with the San Francisco 49ers, where his younger brother Nick plays, but older bro Joey took the opportunity to chase a ring with reigning MVP Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. A dominant force when he's healthy, Bosa has consistently terrorized quarterbacks. Injuries have been a concern, but his talent remains undeniable. Last but not least, let's talk about DK Metcalf. In one of the biggest offseason moves, the Seahawks traded DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers, giving the Steelers a new number 1 target. Metcalf's combination of imposing size, speed, and pure brute physicality, like this, makes him a perfect fit for the AFC North's gritty style of play. However, his arrival raises questions about how he and George Pickens, another ultra-talented but fiery competitor, will coexist. Both receivers are known for their aggressive on-field demeanor, leading to many to speculate that their clashes could arise over targets and alpha status on the field. If egos collide, Pittsburgh locker room may have its hands full, but if they can channel their energy, the Steelers could have one of the most explosive receiver duos in the league. For the Bark on NFL Free Agency, this has been Drew Ellis.
So those are my picks. Teddy, you got any picks for free agency of your own?
Yeah, I am actually really excited about this new Bears offensive line. We signed Drew Dahlman, the former Falcons center, and also traded for Chiefs Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. I'm definitely excited to actually have protection around Caleb Williams now. Seeing that could actually make this team good, even though I still think the NFC North is going to be the best division in football this year. Lots to look forward to for the Chicago Bears. And finally, for our last segment, we're going to send it to Cooper Garland to talk about the Tokyo Series.
Thanks for having me. Wednesday and Tuesday, we had the MLB World Tour Tokyo Series, in which we saw the LA Dodgers take on the Chicago Cubs in just a 2-game series over at the Tokyo Dome. Recapping Game 1, we saw the Chicago Cubs fall to 0-1 as they lost to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers won at a score of 4-1, with Yoshinobu Yamamoto having a really good outing. He went 5 innings, only giving up 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 4 strikeouts. I mean, it was a great look to see from him. As somebody who just won a World Series and is actually the highest paid pitcher in the MLB, something that a lot of people don't think about. On the other side, the Cubs pitched Shota Imanaga, who was making his first ever start in Japan as a Cub, and he went 4 innings, having 4 hitless innings, but he did allow 4 walks. The major turn of events happened in the 5th inning, where the Dodgers were able to score 3 runs, mainly coming off of a John Birdie error. The Cubs were actually up 1-0 going into that inning after Miguel Amaya hit the first hit of the RBI of the whole entire MLB season, which he drove in Dansby Swanson. Then coming into the 9th, it was 4-1 after the Dodgers added another run. We saw Tanner Scott, one of the biggest free agents of this past offseason, come in. He got paid 4 years, $72 million, and he got the save, making that the first save of the MLB season. So the Cubs lost Game 1, Dodgers won Game 1. Now going into Game 2, we saw the Dodgers take the series as they won Game 2 against the Cubs 6-3. The Cubs were able to get into a hole real early after Justin Steele let up 5 runs over the first 4 innings. He didn't pitch great, however there were some shaky calls on strikes and balls. Speaking of some calls that went a little bit weirdly, there was a Shohei Ohtani home run in the Tokyo Dome that appeared to have been fan interference. However, it was called a home run, adding an extra run on for the Dodgers. It just became a hole that the Cubs were unable to get out of. Rookie Matt Shaw was able to get his first ever knock on an infield single, which was a huge sigh of relief for all the Cubs fans who were hoping he was going to perform well. Now I'm going to take a quick look at Roki Sasaki and what I liked and didn't like in his first inning of MLB baseball. Roki Sasaki, first MLB start. Let's take a look at his first inning. Let's see what we liked and what we didn't like. As you can see here, he did play last year in Japan. He had 18 games, a 10-5 record, an ERA of 2.35. He really had a great season over there. He's known as somewhat of a legend in Japan. He really did some great work. So let's take a look at some of his first pitches here. So as you can see, Roki Sasaki, he does have one of the more interesting pitching stances. He really attempts to get a lot of elevation. Here he is pitching to Ian Happ. Of course, he's going to start with the splitter. He is one of the greatest splitters the MLB has ever seen, and we saw him there. Now he's going to go to Seiya Suzuki. He's going to try the splitter again, and it's going to be a little bit off. This is where I see one of my major problems with him. He does not have much command. So if we go back here and we look, he tries to get it down and away. And he wants to get a little bit of whiff, but he's unable to because of his command issues. If he's able to just have a little bit better command, he should be one of the most dominant pitchers in all of baseball. We then see him go with this curveball. This curveball was one of the best pitches he threw all day. I think if he can add more curveball in, he should be one of the most dominant pitchers. Now here we're going to see him get his first ever MLB strikeout where he uses the fastball. If he can become more of a fastball splitter pitcher like I think he can, he really is going to be one of those dominant guys up there with Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal. Here against Kyle Tucker, we do see him getting a little bit of hard contact, but Kyle Tucker does fly out to center field. That is all for Roki Sasaki's outing. I thought it was really good overall, but if he can up the command and also keep the velocity high, he should be one of the best pitchers in the whole MLB. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Cooper. I'm personally excited to watch Rookie. Even as a Cubs fan, it was cool to see this whole series encapsulate Japanese culture and how big Japanese baseball is to that country. Drew, any thoughts about the baseball season upcoming?
Absolutely. Looks like it'll be filled with a lot of stellar hitting and pitching, and we could see some great seasons out of some great players and some surprise picks as well.
I agree. That was The Bark. For Drew Ellis, I'm Teddy Weiner. We'll see you guys in the next one.